Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
Hello and welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. I'm your host Amelia, and once again we're joined by Frank Geskis.
Hey Amelia.
Welcome once again.
Thank you.
Now we've got another exciting topic to talk about today. Let's talk about claddings.
That's a big subject.
It is.
It can make or break your dwelling, your extension. It can transform a house when you're doing renovations. I've seen some amazing transformations on existing dwellings. Bit of creativity. Wow, looks like a new house.
Oh yeah, and it can completely change the facade of a house.
Massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like changing the colours in a room.
Oh, 100%.
So it takes a bit of creativity and styling, get things to match. I find it a very fun thing to do with what we do. You can do lots of options, and now with our software, with the 3D rendering, and it makes it a lot easier. And now with you put all these products within the software and it replicates it accurately. Yeah, it's really trick.
Yeah, there's so much more available on the market now, and you don't just have your metal claddings, but you've got your timber claddings as well. Yeah, different colours available, textures.
Yep. And there's so many claddings out there. The choice is in really out there. But beware.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's big one. Make sure the cladding that you choose is actually compliant with the Australian standards and has a code mark or similar branding on it. It's been tested.
Really? Are there ones for sale in Australia that are not compliant for housing?
Oh, heck yeah. All over the world there is.
Really?
Yeah. And that's, I've got to use the example of the fires of these high rises, right? I'll use that as an example, an absolutely awful example. And it happened in Melbourne as well, but the worst one was obviously in England. I think 70 odd people died in the high rise, and that was due to the claddings, and the claddings burnt.
Oh,
now,
really?
they weren't compliant for that usage, and there was one in Melbourne as well. It was substituted, as I understand it. This is my understanding, what I've read, is that the cladding that was specified was changed for another cladding, so it wasn't matching what was on the approved documents.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole thing behind that, and I'm not 100% clear on it all, but it showed where the fire was not certified to be used in that type of building.
Someone's going to be in big trouble for that.
They've been, everyone's been pinged on that. So with your house, it's not a lot different, because you'll see all sorts of claddings that are available. You've got to make sure that they are actually code mark certified in Australia. And a lot of them are. You get your lightweight claddings. So you go from everything from CSR, Cemetal, James Hardie, Skyon, WeatherTex, the Carter Holt products, Boral have lightweight claddings as well, all the brick guys. There's a level of certification that they have to go through to actually put their product on the market. I know there's a straw bale panel being developed, and it might actually already been released.
Wow. But
they've had to go get it tested to prove that it meets the minimum requirements for a residence. And they're probably dropping $150,000 on trying to get certified. In some cases, it might be more. Did you know every window that's on the market has to be tested?
Every window?
All the types. When we had Toby on, we were talking about they get tested for, and same with ones that are designed for bushfire as well. They all have to be tested to go onto the market. Don't think this stuff's randomly put on there, and if it is, it's got to come with a certification or the rest of it. If it doesn't, it hasn't been tested. That means you're buying something that doesn't comply. Scary, isn't it?
It is a bit scary.
So cladding, well, how much cladding you put on a house? A lot. So you want to make sure you spend the money where it's supposed to be, and it complies. And when you've got bushfire, we spoke about that many times on podcasts at the bushfire attack level, your claddings have to meet that as well. And that's why they get all this stuff tested.
And that changes the cost and all those sort of things too,
Yeah. Big change in costs. And also how it performs as well. Like a colleague of mine, the BDAA, designed a house to suit bushfire regulations. She designed it in a polystyrene cladding, and it was rendered, and it was bushfire certified. Perfect. Had a bushfire through, house survived.
Really?
This thing copped a pizzling. I saw photos and I go, wow, house survived.
And it had polystyrene in it. Really? I would have thought that would have gone
It's been
straight
tested.
up.
Yeah, but it was
wow.
tested. But it was specifically used for that. And it came up, well, cladding was stuffed. It was no good anymore because it's copped it, but it's no different than any other type of product in a bushfire. Once you get fire up against it, withstand to a point. It's limited what it can do, but it's not much chop after the fire's gone.
No.
Nothing is, So even if it's just smoke damage or radiant heat damage, it's pretty amazing. And that's why all this stuff gets tested. It's for your safety and protect your property.
So how do people go about finding out that certification? Is it usually listed on company websites?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's pretty common practice for them to show it. And as designers and architects are the same, they go checking all this out. We don't choose products that don't have the code mark on it or certification paperwork, and we know which ones we're looking for. We won't use it because if we specify something that doesn't comply, we get in trouble over that too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty critical, and who would have thought that we're looking at that level, whereas aesthetically it makes such a statement on your house. So probably the most popular one is here still in Tasmania is brick.
Yeah, it is quite popular, isn't it?
Very popular, and there's good reason for it. It can last a long time, generally handles all sorts of beatings, but also it's still very cost effective. You don't have to paint it.
That's what I like about it, is it you don't have to maintain brick.
No, but gee, you want to like it for a long time.
True.
Yep.
True.
So brick or blocks, concrete blocks, there's concrete bricks, there's a whole bunch of stuff like our friends at Island Block and Paving, give them a shout out. They do a brilliant product, concrete bricks and blocks with recycled glass in their mixture.
Oh, wow.
And brilliant looking stuff. Wonderful product. Mm-hmm. So there's lots and lots of variety to give you all these different finishes, because I love that, because sometimes you get a little bit of sparkle in the bricks with the right light at
You
night.
like a bit of sparkle, do you, Frank?
I'll settle down. Only on special occasions. Yeah, so there's lots of these, what I call the heavy type of claddings. Some people clad in stone, that happens. We did one of our houses for Mr. Islander. Remember he built the chimney and he did all the stonework himself?
Yes.
Brilliant. But there is another alternative. You've got stack stone, where you can buy a product that represents stone, and they're getting so good, and they're able to stick them onto either a cement sheet or a baseboard or something like that, and they do look really, really good.
So they're not actually stone?
No, I have heard of one there is stone. They've done it, but I haven't seen it. Someone mentioned it to me. But it still be very effective. It was all the rage there many years ago, but I think used in selected places, it looks really, really nice. Mm-hmm. Give that natural earthy feel. So there's some of your more, what we call heavy type claddings, solid claddings. Hebel, aerated concrete, big fan of that product as well. It's not the most popular in the world, but it's great for acoustics. It can handle a bit of a knock. It is you've got multiple finishes. It can be rendered, painted, a whole bunch of stuff. You can get textures on the panels. Cool product.
So what is it? Like a concrete
panel?
Like a concrete sheet?
No, it's not a sheet. It's an aerated concrete. Well, I'll use the Hebel Power panel as the example. You can get blocks as well. But it's a 75mm wide panel, 600mm wide, 2400 or 2700 long, and you actually screw it, because it's relatively soft, screw it into battens. So timber frame, batten, and then you put the panels over the top.
Right. And is it heavy like concrete?
No, that's what's called lightweight air raid, but it's still a heavy panel. You need two people to lift it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a totally different product, and it's great for fire, great for acoustics. Yeah, it's a great product. It can be used for floors as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's not the most popular product, and I don't know why. I actually think it. I've used it myself on one of my projects, and I like the end results of it. Learned a lot about it as well when you actually do it. So these are products a lot of people don't see in the hardware stores either. You've got to do a bit of research. Yeah. So they're like your bigger, heavy ones. I've done precast houses, so it's concrete panels, like big 125mm thick panels all stacked up like we do warehouses, and then we put trusses on top, and then we line the inside with the stud frame and insulation. So a different way of doing it. Yeah, the client wanted that.
Different look, isn't it?
It's a look.
Yeah.
Brutalist a look, I suppose. Then you got your lightweights, and this is by far the biggest variety. So you go for your ColourBond, your steel cladding, steel sheeting with different ribs. We've got Structor in in Tasmania, they do those specialised profiles of standing seam, all these types of profiles. You can mix and match. And there again, it's a cool product, hidden fixings. It's a very nice product. It's not cheap, but you're paying for something that's pretty customised. But the trick is getting the flashings right. And I think that's with any of those ColourBond products where you use a normal roof cladding, like custom orb, which is like your old corrugated, or trim deck, which is flat pan with some ribs in it. All looks nice, but it's only as good as the flashings around your windows and doors. You've got to really get them looking nice, and you get a good tradesman who can do them well. It looks amazing. Again, choosing the colours and stuff like that. But there's been some ColourBond you've got to be a little bit careful with too, with what colour you choose, because potentially you can chalk out as well. So those things you've got to consider. But there's a lot of still the standing seam and those specialised profiles have really become very popular.
Oh, I think definitely at the moment you've got, a lot of that Scandi barn type
the Scandi
finish.
barn, yeah.
You know, you see a lot of the metal claddings going onto those, whether it's ColourBond or...
Yeah, and there's other brands out there as well.
Mm.
And yeah, it's all very good, and that comes under the building code and how that deals with fire and things like that too. You go back to your weatherboards, your old classic weatherboards.
Does anyone actually get them anymore?
Yeah, you can still get hardwood weatherboards here in Tasmania.
Surely they would cost a bomb now.
Oh, yeah, it's more expensive than brick veneer. It's crazy how expensive it is. But you can now, there's always been the other option of Baltic pine boards, which, in Tasmania we've got bull nose. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of that. But you can also get a square nose, and Skyon has those as well, weatherboards with a square finish on it. And if you're doing work on an existing house that might be of 100 years old and is weatherboard, in Tasmania they're generally bull nose. There's a Baltic pine option you can get, but I don't like it because all the grain comes through. There's a cement sheet version, which matches very nicely.
I think that's really popular. People are going for the look of weatherboard.
Yes, and a cement sheet.
Yeah.
I think it was a BCG, I think. Ooh, I might have got that wrong, or BSG. But that was a very good product as well, and that's helped us on a number of heritage-type projects. But then you've got every other major lightweight supplier, from your CSR to your, I already mentioned James Hardie, but your WeatherTech, they all provide a weatherboard type version option. James Hardie have got a huge variety of different profiles, if you're after a different type of profile there too. Then you're looking at the cement sheet options, and again, they're like big sheets. Some have got ribs in it, or they're cut to different widths. The ribs are random spaces. The Axon, the WeatherTechs, you've got ones that squares or rectangles with a black groove between them.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's popular. All the brands have those versions as well. They're quite expensive because a lot of work to get them dead square and setting right. But again, it depends on the look, and you wouldn't do the whole house in it. You do features or nice looking areas. You might do one side of the wall. The front of the house might have 2 or 3 different claddings on it. Sometimes it can look too busy. Then you got your natural products, timber claddings. I mentioned the Carter Holt, the Boral, the WeatherTechs. I'm a big fan of the WeatherTechs product, and also what they stand for with how they source their timber, lack of chemicals. I'm a huge fan of the WeatherTechs. And they have all those types of weatherboards, big panels. They've got their eco range, so you don't even have to coat their cladding.
Oh,
and
so it's just as is.
Just as is, and it goes grey.
So let's talk a little bit about the maintenance of some of them and preparation, because what do you have to do to some of those claddings? Like obviously some of those, say your WeatherTechs or your ColourBond.
ColourBond maintenance is pretty easy.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's a pretty reliable coating. They've had some colours that aren't as reliable as others. WeatherTechs, if you let it go El Natural and goes grey, the beauty of it, this is the thing I love about it, they've got products there that will actually, you can wash it down again and it goes back to the natural colour. Mm-hmm. So there again, you can keep it El Natural. You can put a coating over it to protect it, to keep the colour stabilised. You can paint it if you want to. You can certainly paint it. Cement sheet, a bit different. Most of the claddings for homes are pre-primed, and then you've got to coat them. There is one particular cladding, I think Cemetel has it, and it's a cement sheet with a natural finish, and it's screwed from the outside, and that looks really cool as well. It looks like concrete.
Yeah, right.
So that was a nice one. And there's so many claddings, I'm just rattling off the ones I can remember for now, and any of the suppliers are listening to me, I apologise if I've missed you or forgotten something or misinterpreted something.
There are a lot.
There's a lot. I'm just rattling through all the ones I can remember. Then you've got the natural timbers, the timber look for feature panels. I've seen just pure timber go on and coated and all that To me, you've got to be real careful with that because the coatings you put on have to be the best. You do not want to be recoating natural timber products every 15 years, but the reality is you do.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things with timber, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love timber. It looks beautiful. I've seen plenty around, but the one that really does my head in is when it's up on the second floor and it's hard to get to do maintenance. Then as soon as it starts deteriorating, it just looks pretty drab.
It does, yeah.
And inconsistent. It's like timber decks, same problem. Trying to get maintenance up to a timber deck and dealing with that UV, and then some's undercover, some of it's not undercover, and then it looks inconsistent. Looks like, not very nice.
Yeah.
Not when you first started, when it looked amazing.
Yeah,
so consistent
very
colour.
true.
So just be careful when choosing a natural product like timber. Make sure that from a maintenance point of view that you can keep the upkeep. Like I said, that's why I like WeatherTex. Brilliant product. Other cement sheet ones are generally painting. You've got to paint on a regular basis. A lot of them come with paint specifications, what they recommend to use, and got to recoat them every 15 years or so. And that varies with every product too, how often you have to coat them. And as weatherboards, same thing, you have to paint those as well. The stacked stone products, as I mentioned before, I believe they're relatively maintenance-free. Stone, for obvious reasons, would be pretty maintenance-free.
True.
Concrete, block brick, generally maintenance-free, just got to keep them clean, freshen them up. So there's a bit to consider, and then it's getting the combinations right.
Yeah, I think that's a big one because you can use 2 different types of claddings or 3 even. And it can look amazing or it can look really awful as well.
Like pigment lipstick. Yeah. Yeah, it can. Oh, there's some that just like, what were you thinking? But nothing what a coat of paint can't fix, or a tree.
A tree.
So it's being a bit rude. Sometimes some people make the wrong choices, and that just happens. Same with, I just want to go back on clay bricks. Like Brickworks have come out with this insane amount of a variety of brickwork. Brilliant.
The variety and the colour combinations are just incredible. Like a lot of them, I've noticed a few styles where it's got that sort of recycled sort of finish.
The recycled look.
And it looks amazing.
But I think it looks really good when it's a feature.
Yes.
You can overcook it by doing the whole house. So, and I have actually seen that when I'm talking about, hey, nothing a coat of paint can't fix. I did see a house and they used that brick far, far too much and it looks wrong. So, again, I believe it can be fixed. You can certainly paint brick. Paint a brick, I think it's an underestimated look as well. Seconds brick, struck finish, so it's flush and with a paint finish can look really good too in the right space.
We've done one.
Yes, that's right. Yes, one on the website.
One.
That white one. Yeah, that came up really.
It looks incredible and it has sort of that really traditional, timeless sort of finish.
Yeah. I think it's an underestimated, underutilised, I suppose, idea for claddings. But then you got renders. Renders were so popular in the 80s and 90s, and now you only do feature renders because it is quite expensive because you put them for the base cladding. So if you put brick on there, it might be, I think at the moment it's $110, $120 a square metre. The render will cost you about $65 a metre. So it ends up being very expensive. Where they used to do whole houses and render, you now see it featured. It's a feature product. And that's okay too. I'm just looking at one of the houses on the wall there, which was a combination of brick and lightweight claddings, fully rendered. It was a fully white house with a garage was made in a grey, but the rest of the house is all white.
And it looks really good.
Looks great.
Yeah.
The only problem with white, what happens with like a white shirt if you wear it too much?
It doesn't stay white.
It doesn't stay white.
That's like you, Frank, when you have your pasta sauce and...
Oh, dear. I'm probably eating too fast when I'm doing it. Well, especially when it's really good. Veronica threatened to buy me a bib.
I believe it. Did you come back with one?
No.
No.
Sorry, I've been on holidays, so it's... it got to taste a few nice culinary delights overseas. So, like I said, you've got to be careful with white, and especially when you've got a garden right next to it and you're watering it, it splashes up the white walls. It can look a bit grubby.
Oh, definitely.
Same with colour choices, combining colour choices. That's not the easiest thing, and colour consultants can certainly help you with that. I love mixing textures with that as well.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
can get some great effects there as well. Also combined with your outdoor decks, because that can actually, we talk about claddings, but when you add decks, And they could be timber decks, it could be concrete decks, they could be tiled decks, whatever it may be with balustrade. That can actually break it up quite nicely as well, and also change the focus on the view of that part of the house.
Yeah, I'm actually really loving at the moment, it does seem quite popular, is a mix of brick and black cladding with it. That can look really, really nice.
Yeah, and there's lots and lots of stuff. I love the creativity. And we have clients that come in, hey, they show us a picture and I want exactly like that. Nice and easy, you know. This is where you can express your individualism or work with someone on that. But sometimes people come in with a dream, this is what I want. Yep, happy days.
And to be fair, there's no wrong answer here either, really.
Yeah.
It's about, as you said, what you want and the look you want to achieve.
Very much so. So, look, that's just a bit of an insight with cladding. One other thing I want to point out with all claddings, and this is something combating a problem with how we're building houses, is condensation. Mm-hmm. All our claddings have to have a gap off the frame. So then there's air that goes between the cladding and the insulated wall frame. So it vents in the cavity. Previously, if you look at old weatherboard houses, they just nailed on the weatherboard straight onto the frame. And we did that for a long, long time. But the way we're insulating our houses and the way we operate our houses, it's causing condensation problems. And then cladding's getting wet and a whole bunch of stuff. So now in Tasmania, it's been mandated that we need that gap and have that ventilation. So people need to be aware of that. So that also changes how that cladding works around the windows. So the flashings or how the windows meet the outside lightweight cladding. Brickwork's still fine. You can reset. You can tell the difference between a rendered brick and a rendered lightweight cement sheet because you can tell the external reveal depth. Mm-hmm. Just to comment on that, I mentioned rendered lightweight cladding.
Yes.
Cement sheets like that. Don't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember you mentioning in another podcast that you weren't a massive fan.
I love products that are reliable for the life of the house. And there was a whole movement there for a while where everything had to be rendered and they were using cement sheets and there's all these different products. And they ended up looking absolutely awful in the right light. The side of the wall looked like a dog's hind leg. It was all over the place. And then the render over the top would crack and you had hairline cracks everywhere. And basically you've wasted your money. Nowadays we put on generally a thicker substrate. Some of that lightweight cladding is available, but it's on a batten system and has better reveals to the windows. But due to the cost of rendering, it's not as popular anymore.
Yeah, right. Have you seen any issues with any types of, I guess I'm thinking more metal claddings,
yes,
of having damage from moisture and condensation? Or is it really...
I haven't really seen it, to tell you the truth. Not saying it's not there, but I haven't seen it. As long as it's well vented,
yeah, okay,
should be okay. Obviously, if you're in a coastal environment, you're near the water, metal claddings are going to cop up.
Can they go rusty?
They will go rusty,
yeah.
I'll guarantee you. And that's where there's another part of the code where you're not allowed to have... it's called the... exposure classification under the National Construction Code, and there's these set distances for certain metal claddings and roofs included. And if you're too close to breaking surf, you're not covered by warranty.
Oh, wow.
Or you use a specialised product called Ultra, which is designed to go closer, but you can't be too close to it because the salt spray, it will corrode your house. I've seen amazing things near the coast. It's one of the harshest environments that you'll face. We've got the wind blowing in, surf breaking, anodised aluminium breaking down, light fittings falling to pieces, door handles falling to pieces. I've seen claddings etched away because it's a really harsh environment next to breaking surf.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah, so those things have to be considered. That's why it's so much more expensive to build up in the coast because you want the house to last.
Oh, 100%.
But the maintenance is so much more on those, because of the harsh environment. So lots of considerations have to be done, with your claddings to ensure that it lasts the life of the building. And that's where you get the advice from your designers and architects and all the rest of it. Talk to your builders as well. They've had really good experiences as well, or bad experiences, And understanding, talking to people of how they've had to deal with some of these claddings as well. And are they easy to put on? Easy to maintain, or are they difficult, or are they giving you a look that really works for the house too? The other thing with lightweight claddings, I've got to point out that they can't sit on the ground. They can't sit directly on the concrete. They have to have If it's concrete underneath, you've got to have 50 millimetre gap minimum.
So what, you have to build it up with another material?
Well, you get the floor level up to the right point and the cladding can go past. It just has to stop 50 mil before the concrete path or driveway, whatever it may be. If it's grass or dirt, that translates to 150 millimetres.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now that's under the NCC. Then you've got the manufacturers. You've got to check that too. What do they say? So gone are the days of sticking stuff straight to the ground or whatever. You just can't do it. And the building certifiers, the guys that do the inspections, will pull everyone up on those too. So you don't want to have the bottom of your cladding either rusting or breaking down.
So, well, you've listed some of the claddings that are available on the market.
Yep, I've probably just touched on a few.
Because
Yeah.
there are so many.
There is.
Do you have any take-home points for anyone that is looking to start their project? Because it is overwhelming what's on the market. Like, what do you recommend for people starting out looking at claddings for their house or investment?
The best investment, you got the best research tool ever, and it's called Google. Hop on there, you look at images, and you start looking at what do you like. Let's be serious. You find what you like. We're all different. We like different things. And to be fair, sometimes we've got more expensive tastes, which is usually the way. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
But you find what you like when you're going through that process before you're going to do an extension or a new house, whatever it may be. And you find those pictures that you like and you take that to your designer or to your architect. This is what I was thinking. I don't know what cladding it is. I've tried to research, can't find it. And they go, they'll probably tell you, we think it's this, this and this. Here's the pros and cons of doing it. And they'll give advice on that. And well, they should listen to what you want, I should say, there as well, rather than pushing their own mandate. Have a listen, because if that's the type of look that you're after and even the colours might be, hey, that's spot on. I love that brick. And I don't know what that lightweight cladding they put next to it. Any designer or architect would know most of those claddings. And then it's for them to listen to you to then translate that to put onto the house that you want. Now, one thing you got to take with a grain of salt as well, because your design may not be the same as the picture.
Very true.
The
outside might
narrow,
look different.
might be wider, might be single story, two story. Then when you add those claddings to it, the proportions may not look right.
Yeah, it might look horrible.
The windows don't look right. A whole bunch of stuff, the roof, exactly. So you've got to take you may like that, but it may not translate to your style of house that you want to do. So that's the takeaway. Grab the pictures that you like, go to your designer and architect and work with them on your dream, and that's what you like, but be prepared, it may not 100% work.
That's where 3D visualisations can
Exactly.
be really helpful and something definitely worth investing in.
It's been the best thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than when a customer is really satisfied with what they see, what we can generate in the software. Yeah, and they go, that's it. And when you get to site, it's pretty close.
Yep. Yeah, pretty amazing actually.
Exactly. One thing softwares generally can't do is predict all the lighting and all the trees and everything around it long term,
Yes. Yep.
It's pretty well like on a bare block or whatever it may be. You can model the houses around, but it gets pretty close.
Yeah, it's actually pretty amazing. I've, looked at photos and then the 3D next to it, and it's so hard to pick the difference, really.
When done properly.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But even if you've got not a phototypical render, you can do something a bit more basic. You get the general gist and go, yep, that's going to work.
Yeah, 100%.
But then you've got to consider your landscaping, because it's more than just the house. It's how the whole site works.
It's the whole picture.
Because the landscaping can make a massive difference to the house as well. And you're not thinking about in the first year, you're thinking about 5 years down the track when things mature.
Exactly.
Colour your driveway.
Yeah.
How that works, everyone's going for the exposed ag finish, I reckon that's going to date a bit like old Pebble Tex.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, some of these materials may date.
They do date.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a big fan of traditional, because you can change the colours, multiple colours in a lightweight cladding building, and that can actually transform your house again. When you've got brick, you haven't got the same level of flexibility. Render, you don't have the same level of flexibility. But the lightweight claddings, weatherboards, all that, you can certainly come up with new combinations.
All right, awesome. We might wrap it up there. Thanks for listening. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.
Catch us later.
You're listening to the Building Design Prime Time podcast.